Before we step into today's story, I want you to pause for a second and really think about this. What would you do? If the person you loved most in the world kept a secret from you, not to hurt you, but to protect you, would that make the lie easier to forgive, or would it cut even deeper, knowing they didn't trust you with the truth? Because sometimes the most painful betrayals aren't done out of cruelty, they're done out of love. And that's what makes them so much harder to understand. If you've ever been caught between truth and silence, between holding on and letting go, then you're in the right place. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, because here, we don't just tell stories. We uncover the moments that quietly change everything, the ones no one prepares us for, the ones we never see coming. Now, let me tell you about the night Ethan stopped running from his past. The house was quiet, not the peaceful kind of quiet, but the kind that presses against your ears, reminding you of everything that's missing. Ethan moved through the hallway with a screwdriver in his hand, tightening a hinge that didn't really need fixing. Had already repaired it 2 days ago, and 3 days before. But it wasn't about the hinge. It was never about the hinge. It was about keeping his hands busy, so his mind wouldn't wander back to the place he had spent the last year trying to escape, a place filled with unanswered questions, half-finished conversations, and a silence that had replaced someone who once meant everything. Every small task became a shield. A flickering light bulb in the kitchen? Fix it. A loose cabinet handle? Tighten it. A scratch on the table? Sand it down, anything that stopped him from thinking about her. Because the moment he stopped moving, the memories would catch up, and they always did. In the kitchen, Linda stood near the stove, gently stirring a pot that had long stopped needing attention. She moved slowly, carefully, as if every motion required thought. To anyone else, she might have looked calm, but Ethan knew better. That calm wasn't peace, it was control. The kind of control you learn when you're holding something inside that you're not ready to let out. Her smile, when she wore it, never quite reached her eyes anymore, and her eyes, they carried something heavy, something she had been carrying alone. Ethan leaned against the doorway for a moment, watching her. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to, because in that silence, there was understanding. They had both been surviving the same loss, just in different ways. For a brief second, something softened inside him, a rare moment, a fragile one. He stepped forward quietly and wrapped his arms around her shoulders from behind. It wasn't planned. It wasn't rehearsed. It was instinct. A silent thank you for staying strong. When he couldn't. For being there. When everything else had fallen apart. For holding him together. Even when she herself was breaking. He expected her to relax into the embrace. Maybe even say something comforting. But instead, her body froze. Completely. A sharp, uneven breath escaped her lips. And in that moment, Ethan knew. Something wasn't right. Ethan. Her voice trembled. Not slightly, not subtly, but in a way that made it impossible to ignore. There's something you should have known a long time ago. Those words didn't just hang in the air. They shifted it. The ground beneath him suddenly felt unstable, like everything he thought he understood was about to change. They sat at the dining table. Neither of them spoke for several seconds. Then slowly, Linda placed something in front of him, an envelope, old, wrinkled, fragile, as if it had been opened, closed, and held too many times. Ethan stared at it. His heart began to pound, because somehow, without opening it, he already knew. This wasn't just paper. This was a year of silence. Condensed into something he could finally touch. Linda's hands trembled slightly. It came a week after Emily disappeared. Ethan's breath caught. A week? Not months later. Not recently. A week. I thought, if I gave it to you, she continued, her voice breaking, It would only make things worse. She swallowed hard. I thought keeping it from you would protect you. Protect him. The word echoed in his mind, but all he could feel was the weight of time, a year of searching, a year of wondering, a year of pain that could have been different. His fingers slowly moved toward the envelope. This was it. Answers? Closure? Or maybe something even harder. Just as his fingers touched the edge, a knock echoed through the house, soft, deliberate, familiar, the kind of sound you don't just hear, you recognize. Ethan froze. His entire body went still because deep down, he already knew who it was, and yet that made it impossible to believe. He opened the door. Cold air rushed in, carrying the sharp bite of winter, and there she was, Emily, standing right in front of him, alive. Real. Snow dusted her hair, her eyes. The same eyes he had seen in every dream. Every memory, every sleepless night locked onto his. She finally gave it to you. Her voice was quiet, careful, almost afraid of what would come next. Ethan didn't move, didn't speak, because in that moment, he wasn't just seeing her. He was feeling everything all at once: relief, anger, confusion, and something deeper, something he hadn't allowed himself to feel in a long time. Hope. Emily stepped inside slowly, closing the door behind her. The warmth of the house didn't reach her. Not yet, because the truth she carried was heavier than the cold outside. My dad, she began, her voice shaking. He got really sick. Ethan's jaw tightened. She continued. It happened so fast. One day everything was fine. And the next, she looked down. I didn't know how to handle it. Her hands trembled slightly. I was drowning, Ethan. The words weren't dramatic. They were honest, and that made them hit harder. I thought, if I stayed, I would pull you down with me. You should have trusted me. Ethan's voice was quiet, but it carried weight. Not anger, not yelling, just truth. And somehow, that hurt. More. Emily's eyes filled with tears. I know. Her voice cracked. I know I should have. I was scared. Overwhelmed. And I thought leaving would be easier for you. She shook her head slowly. I thought disappearing was an act of love. A long silence followed, but this silence was different. It wasn't empty. It was full of everything that had been left unsaid for a year. They moved into the living room. Slowly, carefully, like stepping onto fragile ground. Nothing was fixed. Nothing was forgotten, but something had changed. For the first time in a year, Ethan wasn't running anymore. He wasn't avoiding the past. He wasn't hiding from the pain. He was standing in it, facing, understanding it, and somehow that made it lighter, not gone, but lighter. They weren't together again. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But they were talking. Really talking. And sometimes, that's where healing begins. Sometimes, we break our own hearts trying to protect someone else. But the truth is, love doesn't need protection from honesty. It needs honesty to survive. So I want to ask you, if someone you loved hid the truth to protect you, would you forgive them? Or would the silence be something you could never move past? Let me know in the comments, and if this story stayed with you, if it made you feel something real, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more stories that explore the complicated, messy, but beautiful reality of the human heart. Because sometimes, the stories that hurt the most are the ones we never talk about. The living room felt different now, not because anything had physically changed, but because the truth had entered it, and truth, no matter how quiet, has a way of reshaping everything. Ethan sat on the edge of the couch, his elbows resting on his knees, his hands clasped tightly together as if he were trying to hold something invisible from slipping away. Across from him, Emily stood for a moment before slowly sitting down. Not too close, not too far. There was distance between them, not just physical distance, but a year's worth of silence. And silence, when stretched that long, doesn't just disappear, it lingers. It settles into the spaces between words. It makes even the simplest conversation feel heavy. Ethan's eyes drifted toward the window. But he wasn't really looking outside. He was somewhere else. A memory. Different version of this same room, Emily, laughing, her feet tucked under her as she sat, exactly where she was sitting. Now, the sound of her voice filling the space, that now felt too quiet. Back then, everything had felt certain, simple, safe. He remembered the way she used to talk about the future like it was something already, written plans, dreams, little details about a life they hadn't lived yet, but believed they would. And now, all of that felt like something borrowed, something that had been taken, back without warning. You didn't even say goodbye. The words slipped out before he could stop. They weren't loud, they weren't angry, but they carried something sharper than anger. Hurt, real, unfiltered hurt. Emily lowered her gaze. I didn't think I could. Her fingers twisted together in her lap. If I saw your face, if I heard your voice, I wouldn't have been able to leave. Ethan let out a quiet breath. And you thought disappearing was better? There it was, the question that had lived inside him for a year. Emily nodded slowly, even though the answer clearly hurt her. At the time, yes, people think heartbreak is loud, crying, screaming, breaking things. But the truth? The worst kind of heartbreak is quiet. It's waking up and checking your phone. Even though you know there won't be a message, it's rereading old conversations, trying to find the moment where everything changed. It's wondering. If you did something wrong, Ethan had lived that version of heartbreak every single day. And now the person who caused it was sitting right in front of him. I didn't want you to see me like that, Emily said softly. Ethan looked at her again. Like what? Falling apart, her voice cracked.